into the future where the glass is half full and you'll need new glasses, where you'll be jumping from conclusions.
The past is annulled and a new future is born.
Never before in history has so much meant so little to so many. AD on the radio.
So there was this kid that I went to high school with. I'm not going to mention his name because he might listen to the show, I'm not sure. But I wasn't overly fond of this dude. There were some things about him that I felt were a little off. He was the sort of guy that perhaps would find the smallest kid in the room and single them out, wedgie them in an atomic style. He's the type of guy who, and I don't have proof of the swirlies, but I think there might have been swirlies involved. He's just not a great dude, not great to the people around him. And he didn't really mess with me too often because I wasn't as easy of a target as a lot of people. And I don't know if calling him a bully is really fair, just because bully is such a loaded word in this day and age. But he definitely treated people around him in a way that I wasn't cool with. And I don't know why, but I got a little hint of him being, again, bully might be too strong of a word. Racist might be too strong of a word. But he said and did some stuff that made me go, I don't need to spend time with this dude. I don't need to. This is not the type of person I want to be around. And I don't like the way he treats people around him. And at one point, we actually got into it because at one point he did sort of try some stuff with me. I don't remember what the hell he did. He did something. I think he might have stolen my book bag or something like that. And I told him in no uncertain terms, unlike the rest of the kids that he picked on, that if he didn't give me my book bag back, he was going to be in a whole lot of hurt. And he immediately gave me my book bag back. I remember this now. And so I didn't really give this guy any thought. I just thought he was sort of like a vaguely intolerant, vaguely animalistic creature that felt as if he wasn't dominating, he was being dominated. And I had no interest in hanging out with that. That was high school. Cut to, years later, we talk regularly. Nicest guy on the face of the planet. And who knows what the hell he was going through. I've never really talked to him about it. I never really said, hey man, you were a giant jerk back in the 9th grade, back in the 10th grade. Remember that time I almost kicked your ass? That was a huge regret of mine going forward that I didn't, but ultimately I didn't, and that's okay. I never called him on all this stuff, and I never really asked him about it. But a kinder, gentler, more caring individual you could not hope to meet. Completely dedicated to his wife and his kids, who are not white, by the way. And every now and then, when I'm talking to him, I say to myself, gosh, I had a very different picture in my mind of what this guy would grow up to be. Like, I was all too willing to prejudge the situation, be like, he's this kind of person. He's the kind of person that shoves smaller kids into lockers. He's the kind of person who's a little, well, like I said, racist might have been a strong word, but he did some stuff that really kind of freaked me out and made me go, no, I don't need any part of this. But I sort of looked at who he was and where he was going and went, this is the type of adult he's going to wind up being. And you know what? I'm very glad that I ran into him years down the line. And I'm glad that I talk to him regularly, because it's a constant reminder that, things don't always go the way you're going to think. Things don't always go the way you think they're going to go. And also, it's a reminder that my prejudgment of him, my prejudice of him, if we're breaking it down into grammatical terms, I was prejudiced against this kid because I prejudged him. I assumed that he was going to end up a certain type of adult, and he could not have ended up more different than what I had presupposed he would have been. And it's a good reminder that a thing that breaks down prejudice is contact. Had I never run into him, I never would have realized how wrong I'd been about him. And who knows what happened between the 10th grade and the present day that made him wind up different than what I prejudged him to be. Don't know, not sure. But like I said, it's a good reminder of the fact that the one thing that prejudice does not stand up to is contact. It's really easy to remain angry at someone if you don't know them. It's really easy to have all your worst suspicions about someone go undenied if you never run into them and get a chance to test them for yourself. It's really easy to give yourself a comfortable narrative. It's really easy to give yourself a set of beliefs when you have no life experience that contradicts them. And it's really easy to miss out on an opportunity to broker some sort of peace if you stay in your corner and don't talk to one another. Where are we going with this? We'll get to it. Thanks for hanging out.
Let's start the show. Real radio.
104.1.
Where the left and right come together for fundamental truths. AD on the radio, on Twitter at ADSXE.
So, I like to think I've learned. I like to think that I've kind of come to a point where I recognize that maybe I'm not as smart as I think I am, and I should always give people the benefit of the doubt. Prejudging people, making assumptions about people. What's the old expression that people love to trot out? Well, when you assume something, you make an ass out of you and me. Well, in the past, I have been a person that assumed a lot. I think I'm good now. I think I'm at a place where I don't. Because like I said, there's this kid that I went to high school with. And when I was in high school with him, I sort of assumed this guy's sort of racist, sort of a bully, not someone I want to hang around. I can picture the type of adult this guy's going to grow up to be, and what a waste of space that's going to end up being. Cut to years later, I actually talk to him on a regular basis. And I don't know what happened between then and now. Maybe I was just way off in my thinking. Maybe I was just a little too certain. Maybe he went through some changes. Maybe he didn't go through any changes at all. And as it turns out, he was a fantastic guy. But a more dedicated, loving husband and father you could not hope to meet. He's got his wife and his kids that he works incredibly hard to support. None of whom are white, by the way. I mean, there went my racist preconception. And I'm really glad that I wound up reconnecting with this dude. Maybe we just grew up. Who knows? But as it turns out, he's quite a stellar individual. There have been other instances too. Work relationships. Oh man, if there's one thing that I would urge you to do in your professional life, if you've got a really lousy work relationship with someone, if you hate them with a burning passion because they're just there to mess with you at all times, here's what I would ask you to do. Never give up on the idea that you might wind up getting along with them really, really, really well. You might wind up having an excellent working relationship with them. There have been coworkers in the past who, me being such an agreeable individual, you might find this difficult to believe, but there have been coworkers in the past who did not like me and I did not like them. And I used to say and do some things that in my slightly mature mind, I look back on and go, oh, that was not cool of me. I shouldn't have talked that way to that person. I shouldn't have said those things to these people. And I also, and this is the important part, I should not have written them off as useless, which I was very wont to do for a period of my life. They're useless. They don't know anything. Oh, they screwed this thing up once. That means they're going to screw everything up. I want nothing to do with them. And if they get anywhere near my work, someone's going to hear about it. Like I said, not the most enlightened perspective. And with the benefit of a couple years in the workplace, and with us having some aligned goals of we have to achieve something, we've got to achieve it together. Some of these folks that I had hideously awful working relationships with, some of these people who I was openly contemptuous of because they were very generous of spirit and very giving when I came to them and said, in the past, I might not have been the greatest guy to be around, and I want to apologize for that. And if I ever did some stuff that, was uncool, I'd really like to apologize for that too, because they were big enough to find it in their heart to move past my despicable, hot-headed, youthful behavior. I now have excellent working relationships with some of these folks. It makes a huge difference. So I never give up. I never give up on the idea that we're going to get along. I never give up on the idea that we're going to have a productive working relationship, no matter how much it could seem doomed to fail. in the workplace, never give up on the idea that you could not only turn a sworn enemy in the workplace into a fantastic coworker, but you could wind up having a real and genuine friendship out of this. I know because it's happened to me. Of course, like I said, it did involve the generosity of spirit of others, but it's happened to me. It could happen to you. The other thing that I've seen in action with regard to prejudice not standing up to contact is, well, my family's from the Northeast. My family's from the Northeast, where you could swing a cat and you would hit a liberal Democrat. That's just sort of geographically what's going on from New York all the way up to Massachusetts for the most part. And then I spent 10 or so years of my life in Houston, Texas, where the exact opposite is true. You can go, guns, no Obama, and you will be met with a rousing chorus of guns, no Obama. The stars at night are big and bright. Where, Travis?
Deep in the heart of Texas.
Yeah, it's a Pavlovian response. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with being mostly liberal Democrat in the Northeast. There's nothing wrong with being mostly Republican in the great state of Texas, specifically in Houston, Texas. But one thing I found that was kind of interesting was when I started spending more and more time in San Diego, California, one thing I found was that, well, you had this largely right-wing military contingent plunked down right in the middle of hippy-dippy tofu sprout-eating, tree-hugging California. Now, you put those two factions next to each other, and what happens? They get along. When your neighbor voted differently than you, yet somehow was nice enough to loan you their lawnmower, or when your neighbor voted differently than you and they're extremely hot, you tend to get over those built-in prejudices. You tend to learn how to coexist and get along. This is not new information. We talk about it over and over again, but it seems to be something that so many people miss. So I'm always a fan. I'm always a fan of people that do not agree with each other, do not see eye to eye, do not in any way, shape, or form have anything to talk about, are bitter sworn enemies. I'm all in favor of talking. I don't think there's ever going to be a problem with people sitting down and talking. Why do we bring this up? We'll get into it next.
For more stimulation and less irritation, 9 out of 10 doctors choose KPRC AM 950, Houston's more stimulating talk radio.
Don't get the blues, get all the news. We mean all of you guys out there in Radio Land. All aboard!
He's back. AD on the radio.
Give it up, yeah. Give it up, yeah. Bring this on, come on.
So the reason I bring up prejudice not standing up to contact, the reason I bring up why it's a good idea for people that don't agree with each other to get into a room and talk, the reason why I would tell you that if you're having a conversation with someone and all you do is agree with each other, one of you isn't necessary, the reason I bring that up is because Donald Trump is taking an awful lot of heat. And believe me, I understand why. Donald Trump is taking an awful lot of heat for being willing to sit down and chitty-chat with Kim Jong Un. Now, Travis, what are the main problems people have with this? I mean, it's a historically significant thing if he does do this, because no American president has sat down with a leader of North Korea since the Korean War ended back in the, what was it, early 50s? 1953 or something like that. So Where does the massive problem arise? They've got nukes. We don't want them to have nukes. Donald Trump wants to go over and talk to them, or they want to meet up in a place and go, all right, here's the thing. How are we going to discuss getting rid of these nukes, and how are we going to discuss brokering peace? The problem people have with this is
that it's Donald Trump wanting to solve the problem. And I say that kind of jokingly, but it seems that that's actually the problem. People's problems with it vary from everything from, number one, they think it's completely, in a way that that Kim Jong Un does not deserve to have Donald Trump meet with him. They say that
you're giving lip service to a brutal dictator.
Exactly.
You're sitting down and having a civilized conversation with someone that is beneath our contempt, as we are America.
Exactly.
And we are the free world. And this is a guy that does horrible, horrible things to the people of his country. You can't have anything to do with him. It's a bad look. Correct?
Exactly. That's issue number one. Issue number two, they say that Trump is not, the White House is not prepared for these talks. The ambassador,
Donald Trump, is not a fan of prep.
Exactly, and that's the thing.
Even if you are Donald Trump's hugest advocate, you got to admit,
yeah,
he is not a fan of going into situations. Donald Trump feels like he is at his best, and he may be at his best when he's rolling off the top of the dome, freestyling, as it were.
In fact, this meeting came about. Literally, they walked in the room and said, "He wants to meet." And where any other president would say, all right, I'll get with my people and we'll discuss this. We'll set up a bunch of conditions. Trump said, I'll do it. I'll do it. Mm-hmm. And then they went out and made an announcement. So you're exactly right. They don't like that he doesn't take his time with things, I guess you could say. He doesn't think things through. They say that the White House is not prepared for it. That there's no way by the time that these discussions happen that they can have strategies, that they can have people in place to determine, to debate this foreign policy and what we're going to demand, which is understandable in a sense, but you've had 30 years to prepare for this.
Well, also, I mean, there's the idea that, look, there's economic sanctions, and Kim Jong Un wants those lifted. So there's the idea that I suppose Kim is setting a trap to ease sanctions in North Korea. I'm going to buddy up to you, and I'm going to get my way, and I'm going to keep the nukes, and you'll never know. That's
the other thing they're saying. They're saying he's potentially trying to buy time. Mm-hmm. That, maybe the White House says, or I believe the CIA says that North Korea is months away from being able to hit the United States with a nuke. So what some people are saying is that he's trying to buy time to continue with the nuclear program to the point that he's stalled everything and finally he can hit America.
I mean, look, here's my thing. Does it give me the screaming heebie-jeebies that two fellows who I consider to be largely unhinged are going to be hanging out talking about this sort of thing? Yeah, it does. Are these my chosen representatives that I would like to have come to a diplomatic resolution about whether or not North Korea is going to have nukes? No. But do I think that, look, what I believe about talking about all of these things holds true. I think that there is value in it. Look, he might be a brutal, murdering dictator. He might be. But this will not be the first time an American president has sat down with a brutal, murdering dictator.
That's true.
Any kind of opportunity to broker some sort of peace, to broker some sort of, even if you just come out of it with more knowledge and understanding. A guy like Kim Jong Un in this situation is going to have a tell. Donald Trump will probably be able to pick up on that. He's the sort of person, and he will have sort of like debriefings and all of the above afterwards. And I understand people's misgivings. I really, really do. But I have a hard time understanding how anything bad can come from contact. Contact tends to break down prejudices. Without it, the prejudices will only become firmer. Like if you hate someone and you never see them and they never cross your path, if you hate someone, you're just going to sit there in your bubble of hate, and it's going to fester and it's going to build, and your resolve is going to strengthen and harden. If you meet that person, well, I guess it could go one of two ways. You could go, oh man, yeah, everything I thought about that SOB was absolutely true. I can't wait for an opportunity to kick their ass. Or you could be like, as it turns out, we both like the same baseball team, or as it turns out, we both enjoy this sort of food. Like you're going to run across something that makes them a little bit more relatable and a little less scary. And will that end the situation between North Korea and the U.S. and the rest of the world? Probably not. But I don't see talking with someone I don't see talking with someone ever as being a problem. I don't see two adults sitting down to talk ever being a problem. Now, granted, these are not the two adults that I would like to have sit down and discuss the future of the world. And it does give me the screaming heebie-jeebies that this could happen. But at least we're gathering intel, and at least we're possibly moving closer to having something positive happen. Does that sound crazy? Does that sound absolutely unhinged? Because like people will tell me you're crazy. This is, contradictory to everything that's American. You're clearly a Donald Trump lover and you just love everything that he does because you're just you're a Trumpy Trump lapdog, which is so funny because I get that literally all the time, because anybody on the left that catches a whiff of sympathy for anything that Donald Trump does is someone that is going to try and flay you alive. And let's remove who these people are. We're in a tenuous situation, and sitting down to talk is a good thing. Like meeting at a negotiating table could be a good thing. It could go south. It could go badly south. It could break down. It could result in heightening the conflict. But would you rather we never try?
Yeah, I don't know. And no, I mean, I know for myself, I think this is huge. However, and of course, yes, other presidents, everyone will say, oh, he's not the first president to have an offer, to meet with North Korea. No, of course he's not. But he's taking it seriously, and he's willing to do it. So, it's one of those things that I don't know what people want. I really don't. They have a nuclear program. They're not supposed to have a nuclear program. There's sanctions against them. There's UN sanctions against them. The whole world knows that they're not allowed to have a nuclear program. And pretty much the whole world, with the exception of probably one or two countries, supports the fact that they're doing things that they should not be doing. And they know it's wrong. So I don't know what the world wants done. Do they want us at war?
I understand. Well, look, Kim's dad and his grandfather, they both tried to get face-to-face sit-downs with presidents of these United States of America.
Absolutely.
And every president turned them down. No way, not going to happen, ain't going to happen. No, in no way, shape, or form are we going to deal with a country that treats people the way you treat people. Absolutely not. And so I get why people have the screaming heebie-jeebies, but my gut is to sit down and talk. I would always try and sit down and talk. I would always try and reach some sort of, look, resolution is a big word, and it takes years to get to that sort of thing. But to get some form of better understanding, some form of intel, something positive out of look, you don't go into a meeting like this and say, you don't go into a meeting like this without having a goal of some sort of upside. So maybe, just maybe, we could get the upside.
The other thing is, if you look at this and you say that we shouldn't be doing this because he's such a terrible humanitarian, that he's just terrible and we should have nothing to do with him. The other side of that is you have to look and ask yourself, how many North Koreans are suffering that don't deserve to suffer? If this is a humanitarian issue to you and that's why you don't want to talk to this man, ask yourself, how many North Koreans who are completely innocent, how many North Korean lives could you make better by sitting down and talking to this man? If the even potential to come to a situation where they will get rid of their nukes and you can lift these sanctions and you could actually help North Korea to become a stronger country economically to where their people are taken care of. How many North Korean lives could you change by being able and willing to talk?
Well, if you're going to, get together and look, everybody thinks that, Kim Jong Un is angling for two things. One, time to build up his arsenal of nukes. Two, economic sanctions to be lifted on his country. And look, there's going to be some sort of give and take in these situations. And if there are economic sanctions lifted, perhaps there would be some human rights trade-offs involved. Who knows? And yeah, maybe there is potential to improve the lives of people living under this guy. I don't think we're ever going to see any real momentous change taking place in North Korea with Kim Jong Un in power, because the guy's crazy. Like, he is not a normal person. He is an absolutely unhinged wackadoo dictator. And, right now I'm sort of supporting the argument for not talking to him. But just meeting and trying to dissolve some of the tension or trying to get a better understanding or some sort of intel, like I said, is important. I guess like the big question now would be, hey, if you're willing to sit down with him, what about Iran? And if Donald Trump sits down with Iran, Netanyahu's not going to be overly stoked with that. Like that's that sort of flies in the face of the allegiance that he's sort of sworn to Israel. That could be an interesting thing. That quid pro quo. All right, you did that. Now you got to do this. That could be an interesting wrinkle as well.
It'll be interesting to see. It's one of those things that you just have to keep in mind. It's Donald Trump. So no matter what he does, it will never be appreciated. It will never be thought of as, the true, whatever he accomplishes will never actually be respected. And that's just how it is. It's sad that it's that way. It's sad that people can't overlook their hatred for him and actually be willing to look at the possibility that although they think he's crazy, maybe he actually ends up pulling off some things that make the world a better place. I mean, isn't that what we all want in all reality, is the world to be a better place? That's why I don't understand. I wasn't a huge Barack Obama fan. I really wasn't. But if he did things that actually made the world a better place, there were things that he did. Can't really think of anything right now, but I remember, during his presidency, him doing things, and I thought, oh, that's good. That's great. That's great for us. That's great for the world, So I just don't understand why people can't allow themselves to try and find the positivity in things, especially something that like this.
Well, I absolutely... Look, and if you're one of those people screaming at your radio going, how could you possibly have us sit down with somebody like this? I get it. I absolutely understand that this could possibly amount to an acceptance of North Korea's recent actions, building up a stockpile of nukes, treating their citizens in an absolutely horrible dictatorial way, and that by acquiescing to this, Donald Trump is essentially doing something that makes it sound an awful lot like a meeting of equals, which is going to embolden North Korea and make them feel like, hey, if we're equals, if we're sitting down at the table like this, we should have our nukes. If you're going to have your nukes, you're America. We're North Korea. What makes you so much better? You think you're better than me? Mandelbaum. Watch me lift anything I can in this room over my head.
Seinfeld reference in this conversation. Amazing.
But, right. Yeah. Trust me. Don't try that at home, kids. But I just, my gut instinct is I can never, ever think of a reason why two people with differences shouldn't talk. I can never, ever think of a good reason why people with differences shouldn't talk and try and work them out.
Sometimes you just know you're done. You're longing for that shining sun. You walk these streets most every day. You're waiting to get washed away. Radio. 104.1.
Now, more AD on the radio.
So having magically managed to work a Seinfeld joke into our talk about the situation between Donald Trump and Kim Jong Un, vis-a-vis sitting down to have a little chitty chat. I know, impressive stuff. I am reminded of Jerry Seinfeld's genius comparison of your morning self versus your night self. I don't need to be all boo-hoo about it or get too deeply into it, but I have a large amount of work to do every single day, and I always struggle. Do I try and get up early and knock out some work first thing in the morning, or do I stay up and work late? And lately, I've been staying up to work very late, and morning self is not a fan of night self after having done this for a few months on end.
I saw an ad for a mattress store a couple months ago. No payments till June. Because they know our idiot brain is going to go, oh, June? Well, that's not really my problem then, is it? It'll probably never be June anyway. That's June guy's problem. Same when you're watching TV late at night, right? And you're tired and you're binge watching all your little Netflix shows, and you think, I don't know, you're doing it right now. After you're done with me, you're going to go back to your little show, maybe find out who the killer is. What about work tomorrow? You got to get up, go to work. That's morning guy's problem. I'm night guy. Party rocks on for night guy. Fire up another episode. Crack open another sleeve of Oreos. No rules for night guy. Then the next morning, the alarm goes off. You're trashed. Crumbs in the bed. Why did I do that? I hate you, night guy. Because night guy, wait, there's more. Because night guy always screws morning guy. Nothing morning guy can do. He turns into coffee all day guy. Who's then can't sleep at night guy. Totally trashed, doesn't do his work guy, and out of a job guy. Does night guy care? No. He's sleeping on a brand new mattress, courtesy of no payments till June guy.
Ingenious.
It's so frighteningly accurate, and it's honestly the life that I'm living right now. Like, I stay up late, I work late, I wake up feeling like hell, and I just drink gallons of coffee every moment of every waking day. I'm probably about 4 or 5 cups of coffee a day guy right now, and it's gotten to the point where coffee's not working. I feel like coffee lies to me, but it's just...
Coffee lies to me?
Oh, it's the worst. It's the absolute worst. Coffee makes you this promise. You brew it up. You smell it being made. You think you're going to feel like $1 million after your first couple of... excuse me, he said, burping on his third cup of coffee. You feel like you're going to feel better after your sort of like second sip, and then it doesn't work. So you have the entire cup, and then you have another entire cup, and you still kind of feel... You just feel like a more irritated version of your sleepy self. Like, I was sleepy, now I'm in a bad mood and sleepy. Like, it's just...
I'm impressed that you burped from coffee. I'm not a coffee guy. Does this happen? I've never heard somebody have a coffee burp before.
It's not like a soda burp. It's not like a carbonation burp. It's more like, I'm not waking you up, but I will mess with your digestive tract burp.
Okay, I gotcha.
Hold on, let me give this another go. Don't lie to me this time, coffee. Still not working. So I suppose we touched on it a little bit. Does Donald Trump saying he's going to sit down and have a chitty chat with Kim Jong? By the way, do you think this is one of those things that he just says and it's never going to happen? Or do you think he's actually going to do it?
So they're saying that...
Can we equate this conversation to brick one of the wall? Never going to be put in place.
I don't know. He is looking at prototypes. He's looking at prototypes in San Diego soon. Oh, you're home. But
right.
The haters are saying that there's less than a 50% chance that this is actually going to happen. A lot of people are saying that a lot of non-haters say that this is actually looking very likely. In fact, Kim Jong Un made a statement that, and Trump is even being respectful at this point. So that goes to show you.
It's interesting because one thing that we don't think about, look, Kim Jong Un is a crazy wackadoo dictator he's Kim Jong Un. We all know what that entails. That said, he's got to be surrounded by people being like, do you remember the Fire and Fury tweet? You remember the chat about how his nuke button is bigger and works better than your nuke button? Like,
he knows.
This guy you're going to meet is not a nice guy. Like, he's got to be surrounded by people being like, what the, really? You're talking to this dude? The one who said he was going to burn us alive? The one who said he's got a nuke button and it's big and powerful and ready to go at any time? Like, not to side in any way, shape, or form with the brutal dictatorial regime that he presides over, but he's got to have some people around him going, you nuts? What are you doing? In the same way that people are saying that to Trump.
I don't think they talk to him like that. I don't think that they have I don't think they stand up to him like that. I think they pretty much just agree that whatever Kim Jong Un says is absolutely the right thing to do.
There's got to be at least one person in his regime that goes, we would like to direct your attention to this tweet that Donald Trump did before we sit down with him. Perhaps we should run some plays before. Do you think Kim Jong Un totally like freestyles the way Donald Trump does, like, off the top of the dome, making up policy and massive international decisions at the drop of a hat the way our president does? Or do you think he's he's a little bit more measured and calculated.
I think and I don't know. Don't get me wrong. I'm an idiot. I mean, I have no clue. But my instinct tells me, based on who he
Whenever
is.
Travis says, I'm an idiot, it's going to be followed by something that is incredibly well-read and informed. But go on.
You know, he's just one of these guys that I think they know better than to question him. I think they present him with, quote, quote, North Korean intelligence. And they kind of probably suggest things to him or give him an option of this is what we think. Once he makes that decision, I don't think he's ever questioned. And I think they're smart not to, based on who he is and if they want to keep living.
Right. Yeah. If you want to cling on to life, then contradicting him in any way, shape, or form is probably, it's not the secret to a long life and good health in North Korea. Questioning the current regime is not going to add years to your life. I wonder if they're just going to get together and be like, so who does your hair?
Leave the stimulation to the professionals.
Everyone is so smart.
KPRC, more stimulating talk radio.
There's something happening here, and you should know what it is. The dumbing up of America. Now, more AD on the radio.
So we never actually discussed if Donald Trump sits down with Kim Jong Un, is he then sort of like obligated to sit down with Iran in the same sort of way where people go, hey, this is a horrible, awful, brutal, dictatorial, human rights abusing regime and you should have nothing to do with them. But if you're going to talk to one about getting rid of their nukes, then you got to talk to the other about getting their nukes. That puts him in a difficult position with Netanyahu and Israel, doesn't it?
I'm not going to pretend like I understand the whole Israel deal. Even people who do talk about pretending like they understand the Israel deal, I don't know that the majority of them understand it. So I'm going to be real careful when I say that because I know there's, 50 years of history that most of us, even if we were history buffs, will never understand.
Beyond that, I mean, all the way back to the beginning of the Bible. Like...
True. I meant the modern day Israeli problems, but yeah.
And look, I would never deny anyone their spirituality. I would never say that, hey, the religion that you practice is I would never say anything disparaging about anyone's religion or faith, provided they're not hurting anyone. But you do look at the situation and you do look at the unbelievable amount of bloodshed that has gone on over a strip of land that has little significance beyond the biblical and other religious sort of implications. And you go, and look, now they're at a point, and you're right, this is a very complicated thing, and you can't possibly discuss it in one show. And people have been talking about it for years and years and years, and we're no closer to a resolution. There is no approaching peace in the Middle East at this stage in the game. People are more dug in, people are more aggressive, people are more defiant in the face of the idea of peace than ever before, which is a terribly sad thing. And you can't boil it down to a succinct little conversation on a talk radio program when you got less than an hour to go. But it seems to me that so much blood has been shed in the name of religion that you look at it and you go, oh man, isn't this stuff supposed to be about getting along and being nice to one another?
Right.
It seems like folks are getting it wrong.
Yeah. There are going to be hurt feelings. Once you start dealing with Iran, there are going to be hurt feelings. But at this point, I don't think if you're Israel...
Justifiably hurt feelings as well.
Of course,
I mean,
of course. But at this point, if you're Israel, I don't think there's any question that this administration is a fan and that, you know what, they've done a lot of things. My God, they're moving the embassy to Israel's stated, capital. They're moving the American embassy to Jerusalem. And This is almost unbelievable. At some point...
So you think that Donald Trump is going to be like, hey, you got to take the rough with the smooth. I'm acknowledging your capital, and therefore, I'm going to try and broker some sort of peace with Iran. You've had nothing but my support, but let's be real here. This is something that has gone on since the dawn of time, this conflict, and I'm going to take a swing at doing something to resolve it. And I know you're not going to like the fact that I'm talking to this guy, but you're going to have to deal with it and know that I'm on your side.
Exactly. It's one of those things that, you know what, we can be friends, but at some point you got to realize you can't have it all. I mean, no, I don't mean any hurt feelings or anything, but it's just like if me and you were friends and there was this guy that we both kind of hated, and you were like, you know what, I need to try and make peace with this guy. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. You know what, we're friends, but at the same point, you have to work for you at some point. Okay, I mean, we have made it pretty obvious that we're fans of Israel. At some point, we got to do stuff that could be better, you know, for us or better for the whole world, even if Israel's going to get upset about it. Sorry.
Well, you know, I mean, like I said, you will never hear me say that. And look, there's people right now that are losing their ever-loving minds saying, you don't understand, Trump is playing into the hands of Kim Jong Un. Trump is going to play right into the hands of Iran. This sets a horrible precedent. We're treating just brutal dictatorships and abusers of human rights like they're something to be acknowledged. That makes them feel like equals. That makes them feel entitled to their nukes. No. But in a very basic human way, I will never, ever, I said it a couple times on the show already, but I'll never, ever think people with differences sitting down to talk is a bad idea.
Yeah.
I can't bring myself, I guess maybe I have too much faith in human nature, but I can't bring myself to believe that people talking, especially people that disagree with one another, is a bad idea.
Especially when it's already broken, and broken to the point that we're at the point where they're a few months away from being able to hit America with a nuke. So it's already pretty broken. And to sit there and say, this isn't how you do it. You know what? This isn't. Well, you know what? If this is the wrong way to do it, the right way to do it that we've been doing for 30, 40, 50 years hasn't been working. At some point...
1953, I checked. That was the last time we had any kind of real contact.
You have to try
Korea.
something else. So this, if nothing else, if this does happen, consider it trying something else. Not to say it's going to work, but at least try something. My God, what if this is the wrong thing to do? The right thing to do is also the wrong thing to do because it hasn't been working.
Yeah, there's got to be people that are like, really? You think it could get any worse? And the concern is like, yeah, it could get worse. This buys him time to stockpile a bunch of nukes that could hit America. That's how it could get worse. But you know what? What are we doing? What sort of interventionist action are we taking in the meantime? I don't think
in theory,
really anything. This is doing something.
If we do have these negotiations, the only real agreement that, from what I understand, that they've said has to happen is, in theory, and who knows if they'll actually do it, but in theory, North Korea has to stop testing their nuclear program, and they have to stop forward movement on it. That's, and I know, and people will say, well, how do you prove that they do it? Well, how do you prove that they do it now? I mean, they're working on it as we speak, unless they've stopped for the hopes of the talks. So, I mean, but in theory, they will stop progress on this program until the talks happen.
Donald Trump did say that in 2017 he brought us prosperity, and this year his goal was to bring us peace. That prosperity thing is not working out for me. Like I'm probably the one, well, not the one person, but I definitely got hosed thanks to Trump's tax plan. People like, isn't your paycheck slightly bigger? Maybe, but you know what? I bought a house right before he was like, that interest you can claim? Not so much anymore.
Yeah.
So, understand I'm not brimming with confidence either. I'm just trying to sort of, like we said, express the notion that people that disagree with each other should talk, because prejudice does not stand up to contact. Contact has been proven over and over again. Let's do a little news, shall we, Travis? What's going on in the world?
Ron Jeremy turned 65 today.
Oh. If Stormy Daniels does do sort of like a pornographic parody of her situation with the Donald, I think a lot of people had sort of presuppose that Ron Jeremy might play.
That man is just disgusting, man. I've never seen a porn with Ron Jeremy in it. I haven't. I'm not kidding. But I've seen pictures of Ron Jeremy. I mean, it's just disgusting.
I think the logic behind it is like, hey, if this, ugly, fat, hairy little man can land unbelievably gorgeous pornographic actresses, then and they appear to enjoy it. I believe they're selling the fantasy that every man can do it. Every man could. Yeah. So there you go. But how old is he now?
65.
Oh, that means now he gets to collect Social Security. Thanks to all those years that he paid in and out and in and so on and so forth. Go on.
James Taylor turned 70 today. It's a little safer of a topic.
He's seen fire and he's seen rain, but these days mostly he's seeing NCIS and kids that won't stay the hell off of his lawn.
Oh my God.
Go on.
James Taylor and Mitt Romney both have birthdays.
Oh, Mittens. It's his birthday as well?
Mittens' birthday.
Yeah, James Taylor and Mittens Romney. No word on what it is they're doing to celebrate, but whatever it is, rest assured, it will be the single whitest celebration ever. Hello, flavor. No, none of that, please. We're James Taylor and Mitt Romney. We will not be getting down. We will not be getting funky in any sort of way. Go on.
A Sopranos prequel is in the works.
Oh. Well, I mean, James Gandolfini is not around anymore. So.
Oh, that's right.
I guess. Yeah.
I totally forgot about that. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the idea is that it's going to cover Tony Soprano's life as a teenager, when the type of whacking he did was something entirely different. Move swiftly along.
A horse named after Rob Gronkowski won a Kentucky Derby qualifying race.
Oh, well, congratulations then, numbskulled Neanderthal knuckle dragger. I like your chances.
Oh. Okay. We lost an hour yesterday.
Yeah, too, if you watch The Walking Dead. Have you been are you watching The Walking Dead, Travis?
No, and I tell you, I don't watch it. I've seen some episodes. I love it. I just don't have that kind of time.
It was one of those things where I was going to wait for it to be over and then binge watch it because everyone was so bent out of shape about how freaking fantastic it was. And I was like, I'm just going to wait till it ends and then I'll watch it. And then everyone was like, oh, it's completely gone down the tubes in the last season.
Oh, no.
So it's
Are you serious?
Just horrible. Yeah. And now, I did watch a little bit. I started watching a little bit and I was like, I don't think I will be binge watching it from the beginning because if this is how it ends up, no, thank you. I don't know. There's too much money involved. There's too much money, not enough ideas, and they're just keeping it alive for as long as humanly possible when it should have ended some time ago. Have you been watching that Versace murder miniseries thing?
No, and I don't. I'm going to sound like a real idiot here because I don't understand it. I've heard of it. Versace, was he?
The clothing designer.
Is it a he? Versace is a he?
Well, I mean, there's a brother and a sister, but the one who was murdered was the he.
Okay, yeah. And was this murder recently?
No, this was in the 90s. What the hell? How would that? Versace was one of the biggest clothing designers on the face of the planet, and he was murdered by a guy as he stepped out to the street back in the day. And the dude's name was Andrew Cunanan, and he was fascinating. He was a gay serial killer that killed older gay men. And this is basically the story of the murder and the story of Andrew Cunanan's life. And it was unbelievably compelling for 2 episodes. And then it sort of sagged in the middle. And I'm just like, oh, come on, just get to it already. This could have been done in 3 or 4. But no, you had to stretch it out into an 8-episode miniseries. And now I feel as though the middle portion of it is time out of my life that I will never get back. Jerks.
Yeah, I wear Billabong shirts. I don't have nice clothes.
I don't see what that has to do with anything.
That's why I don't know about Versace.
Oh, right.
I have cheap clothes and board shorts.
Well, me too. But, you know, he was famously... anyways, he's dead. There's a mini-series about it. The end.